Hi, we have lots of great stories this week about teachers, the pedometer-a-thon, students with jobs, and the last 2 weeks of football. Stay tuned for this week's exciting edition of Viking News. Hi, I'm Catherine Wilcox and welcome to another edition of Viking News. Teachers play an important role at Seaman High School. Continuing with our look at the Seaman staff, Megan Bloom had a chance to talk to Mr. Darding about his educational career here at Seaman High.
U.S. history and government are very important subjects in our lives today. Now let's go to Mr. Darding to see what he has to say about Seaman.
I've always enjoyed history and government class. When I was in high school and college, they were of interest to me, and it gives a good opportunity that you can keep up with current events and things that students don't bother to keep up on their own sometimes.
He graduated from Emporia State in 1984. He's been teaching for 20 years, and he's been a teacher at Seaman for 9 years.
Seaman High School is a very enjoyable place to work. The faculty is here, is a fun faculty to be around. The administration is supportive and does a good job. And most of the kids are really also interesting to be around. They keep things interesting and make it fun to come to school every day.
He teaches history and government, and he's the boys and girls golf coach. In his spare time, he referees football. He's done that for 12 years, and he coached basketball for 17 years.
Teachers are important to society because it's a job that somebody has to do. I think most of the staff here at Seaman High School really enjoys what they do, and that's a pretty good example for the kids that are maybe considering going into education. It's a job that's always going to be there. It's a job that somebody has to do well into the future.
Mr. Tolan has been an important aspect of our psychology department for many years. Abby Heller talked with him about what he thought about Seaman High School.
Psychology is one of the most exciting fields in America today. Mr. Tolan makes it fun and exciting. So now let's take a look at how he feels about his subject and Seaman.
This is the beginning of the rest of all of our students' lives, and we need to have some tools so we can be a productive part of our society someday. So that part of our job is to prepare you to be productive citizens.
Mr. Tolan graduated from Highland Park High School and Washburn University. He has done education work at Emporia State University and earned a master's degree from Kansas State University.
What other ways can we improve our memory?
He taught at Highland Park Junior High and Northern Hills Junior High. This is his 26th year at Seaman, teaching psychology and physical education.
I think it's an exciting class to teach because it's a new way of thinking for most of our students. They're not used to thinking in that way. This is the best place to teach. We have the best school of any place around, and so it's easy to teach here and fun to teach here. Our students are super.
Seaman High School has always focused efforts on helping students lead healthier and happier lives. Recently, community members got together to walk around the Seaman track to increase their awareness of the value of nutrition and exercise. Tiffany Logue takes a look at the first annual pedometer-a-thon.
On October 20th, Seaman High School held their first pedometer-a-thon. Elementary students that came with a parent received a free pedometer, a free snack ticket, drink ticket, and prize ticket, redeemable for snacks, drinks, and prizes that promoted healthy choices. Turnout for the pedometer-a-thon was awesome. There were 125 elementary students from all 8 elementary schools, 208 parents of the elementary students, 66 Seaman High School students, 3 junior high students, and 98 members of the community. The total steps for the elementary students were 1,759,120. The total steps for the community were 2,572,120 steps. Pedometer-a-thon organizer Mrs. Welch had plenty of great things to say about the walk-a-thon and the overall turnout.
We had over 500 walkers out walking, consisting of elementary students, high school students, junior high, and parents in the North Topeka community and across Topeka. It was amazing the number of people that were here. Along with that, we had 37 workers that were making sure that the events, the check-in, the snacks, and prizes was taken care of. And it was great to see the parents and the students out there working together, walking together, exercising, and talking. And what was really neat, they weren't just moseying along. I mean, these people were out there power walking. And if you walked out there and you saw the track, I mean, it was full of all ages, from probably 2 to 3-year-old children, clear on up to some grandparents that came to be a part of the event. So it was amazing, and it's good to see that people are concerned about their physical activity and they want to eat right and be healthy. And it was an awesome event.
We just did it to raise money for the American Diabetes Association and to raise awareness about nutrition, because there are a lot of obese kids in America. Obesity has doubled in children in the last decade and tripled in adolescents, and it's a problem that we feel needs to be addressed. And we were very happy. We thought that we got a lot of facts out there to the community, and we were very happy with the amount of kids that showed up.
Everything at the walkathon was set up so people had to walk places to redeem their prizes and food. Workers at the Pedometer-a-thon sold pedometers for $10 to people around the community. They also signed up the elementary students and signed up the people from the community that came to walk. Seaman High School found the Pedometer-a-thon was a great way to promote physical activity with friends and family. We all hope that the Pedometer-a-thon stays a tradition here at Seaman High School.
Tonight's show is brought to you by the Seaman Crime Stoppers. Support the Crime Stoppers and buy a pencil at the new Seaman Pencil Machine. Many Seaman students keep a busy schedule, working at jobs while still trying to keep up their schoolwork. Tiffany Logue shows us how having a job can affect a student's GPA.
Students having after-school or weekend jobs is not an uncommon thing here at Seaman High School. The question some parents and teachers ask is if having after-school jobs affects a student's GPA. When asked what they thought about students having jobs, Mrs. Chamberlain and Mr. Dietz had plenty to say.
I believe that the impact a job has on a student's success in school depends a lot upon the individual student. First of all, how organized they are. I think when you're working and taking difficult classes, you have to use your planner, you have to really plan out your long-term projects. I think it also is dependent upon how many hours you're working. It amazes me how some of my students work almost a full-time job and yet are still able to handle going to school full-time. That takes a lot of work. You have to make some decisions, I think, and establish priorities, what's most important, and that has to be an individual decision. Unfortunately, I've seen some students who've sacrificed good grades and success in school in order to have enough money to buy a new car, and then that has to be a personal choice. Does a job influence success in school? Of course it will.
I think if they have a job, it will not affect their GPA. In fact, it might help them a little bit as long as they work very limited hours. They talk about research, anything over 20 hours a week is probably the limit. Anything over 20 hours is probably too much, and it will affect your grades.
Senior Rachel Dagan feels having a job can affect students' GPA.
I think having a job affects some people's GPA because some people can't manage their time wisely enough to handle their job and their schoolwork at the same time.
When I surveyed 75 random students here at Seaman High School, I found 48% of them had after-school or weekend jobs, and 57% of them thought that those jobs affected their GPA. Ladies Home Journal Editor-in-Chief Diane Salvatore says that after-school jobs can give teens confidence and help teach them important time management skills. The Youth Developmental Study found that students who have part-time jobs participate in a wide variety of activities, as long as their paid work doesn't exceed over 20 hours a week. Having a job is important as long as it doesn't get in the way of homework, band practice, or other things that are important to the teenager.
The Viking football team had another great 2 weeks at Victories. Jake Lott reports on the game against Topeka West.
Undefeated Seaman opened up Class 5A district competition with a 44-7 home victory. Still, there was very little backstopping or high-fiving after the game.
It was nice to come off with a big win, and our guys realized that we can still do a lot of things to improve, but that's when you know you're going to have good teams, when your seniors and your leaders realize they're not satisfied with their performance even though we won, and they're going to keep working to try to get better and just keep improving every day. And I'm excited about this group, and they have a lot of big games ahead of them.
In the first half, Seaman rolled on offense, scoring the first 5 times they had the ball and outgained the Chargers 405-74 in yardage. Seaman backfield had an impressive night with Steve Walker rushing for 123 on 20 carries. Jake Law added 99 yards on 8 carries. Nick Carlson had 52 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 carries. And Viking quarterback Lewis Hupflis rushed for 62 yards and a touchdown and threw for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seaman's defense held the Chargers to 74 total yards with a smothering pass rush and tenacious run defense that only allowed 37 carries for 24 yards.
We had a few key plays in the game. We started off this game with a 3-and-out and came back and had a few key sacks and had a good fumble recovery.
I thought we played pretty good on defense Friday night. It was probably our best defensive performance of the year. We held Topeka West under 100 total yards on offense, which was really a good job by our defense. We were aggressive, we tackled well, and got after it. So I think that that's going to be our key for the next couple of weeks, is to get better and get some confidence going. And so when we hopefully get in the playoffs and things are going well for us, our defense can step up and help us win games and get some turnovers and do things we need to do to be successful in the playoffs.
Seaman will gear up for Shawnee Heights, who won their district opener against Highland Park next week. Please be there at the game. And now we'll take a look at some big plays from last week.
Now for last Friday's game against Shawnee Heights is Brent Lears reporting.
Seaman came in at Friday night's game looking for a berth in the 5A state playoffs.
We played pretty good last Friday night. The offensive line did a lot better this week. I think that's because they worked pretty hard in practice, and we just basically got an attitude and went out there and tried to stick it to them. We were able to run our plays to success, and just like we practiced all week, and had a nice hard week of practice and got the job done.
Seaman came out on fire, scoring 6 out of 7 first half possessions. Seaman utilized all of his offensive weapons, with 3 of the 4 starting backs eclipsing the 100-yard mark. Leading the way once again was fullback Steve Walker, who also went over the 1,000-yard mark for the season. The Seaman defense got better, but didn't quite reach the goal of getting a shutout. Seaman improved to 8-0 and are looking to win the Centennial League outright with a win against Highland Park this Friday. Here are some exciting plays from last week's game.
That's it for today's edition of Viking News. Be sure to tune in Sunday at 8:30 for a rebroadcast of the show. Hi, we have lots of great stories this week about teachers, the pedometer-a-thon, students with jobs, and the last 2 weeks of football. Stay tuned for this week's exciting edition of Viking News.